So British manufacturer Triumph has just completed 5 years here in India, and they've been very successful. And that's because they've offered a wide range of products. They have a very vast product portfolio offering to all kinds of riders. The newest products we have here are the Street Twin. The Street Twin is their best-selling model here in India and globally. And that's because it's affordable, it's easy to ride, and it looks very, very good. Today we've got with us the Street Scrambler. And that's because the Street Twin is a little too boring for us. And that's why I'm geared up here in my off-road gear, because we're going to ride this bike and see if more power and more refinement actually makes a better twin. So there have been a few design changes to the new bikes. What we have right here is the Scrambler version of the Street Twin. And obviously this has got a lot of accessories on it. What this bike has is the Vance & Hines exhaust and the protection up here for the head plate. These are accessories, of course. What this bike gets is a new seat, a new fuel tank. It's got knee guards as well. It gets a bash plate. It gets a mid-mounted exhaust. It's also got rubber mounts on the handlebar. This handlebar is also now wider and it's higher, offering a better riding position. And even the seat in the Scrambler is higher than the Street Twin. So the Street Scrambler also gets new Metzeler knobby tires. It also gets a 19-inch front rim and a 17-inch at the back. It also gets new KYB forks, and it also gets Brembo brakes. Now the engine remains more or less the same, but they have retuned it and they have added a few additional parts. It's the same 900cc twin-cylinder engine. It's a very high torque engine. This one gets additional horsepower. It's been bumped up by 10 bhp, so it now gets 65 brake horsepower, and it also comes at 500 RPM higher. The torque remains the same at 80 Newton meters of torque, but the curve has been flattened, which means you get a much better spread of torque throughout the rev counter. So one of the main reasons why the Street Twins have been very good sellers for Triumph is because they are very easy to ride motorcycles. They're small, they're compact, and they're very light. So any kind of rider can actually get on this bike. I'm very tall and I'm very heavy, and still the bike is very manageable for me, very comfortable, and I can ride for days on end without feeling discomfort whatsoever. The new Street Scrambler we have this today more or less has the same ergonomics. It's a very comfortable machine, it's very light, and it is off-road centric, of course. So you've got the wider handlebars, it's also higher. The seat is also much higher than the regular Street Twin, so it's more tuned to off-road riding when you want to go on the rough stuff. But more or less, this bike behaves very well even when you're on tarmac. It's not as fun to ride as the Street Twin, of course, because that has more character than this when you're on tarmac. And this also is not a very hardcore off-roader. This is more of a tamed off-roader. Number one is the ground clearance. It's very low, so you will be hitting rocks and stones and whatever comes in your way. But more or less, this is very easy to ride. It's fun to ride when it wants to be. You've got 3 different riding modes. You've got rain, you've got road, and you've also got an off-road mode here, which puts off the traction control and the ABS. And you can change that back on the fly when you decide to go back on the tarmac. But overall, riding dynamics are very nice for this bike. Once again, it's not the most exciting, it's not the most thrilling, but it does, inspire lots of confidence because it's so easy to handle. Steering is very light. And in my honest opinion, I would think that, the Scrambler would be a much better option to own, especially if you're living in urban areas in India where the roads are not the best. The Scrambler is much better than the Street Twin in terms of the way it rides and feels. And the Scrambler also gets a little higher torque rating in the revs. But more or less, this is a very nice bike which can be used in all riding conditions. It's not an extreme and it's not too soft. It's right there in the middle, which makes it a very fun bike. The only problem is that it's expensive. This bike here comes at around 9 lakh ex-showroom Delhi, whereas the Street Twin base model comes around 7.5 lakh. If you want to opt for something else, there is now the new Royal Enfield Interceptor and Continental GT, which is also a twin-cylinder engine, 650cc, and is actually a competitor to this motorcycle. And best of all, it costs 5 lakh less, and it offers just the same amounts of fun as you would on this. This, of course, is more premium. It's got a Triumph badge on it, so it does stand out a little bit more. But in terms of riding dynamics, you don't really need so much power, especially when riding in India. The new Royal Enfield Interceptor is a great bike, and it can handle any kind of road surface here in India. It's also comfortable. But if it's a Scrambler you want and you don't want to hit the rough stuff too often, then the Street Scrambler is the perfect bike for you. However, if you're interested in more intense off-roading and you want a proper Scrambler that can go on any road surface, I have to say that the Scrambler Ducati Desert Sled is one of my favorite scramblers right now. No other bike offers you greater riding pleasure. Still though, the Triumph is a great bike, no doubt.